The envelope sat on the kitchen counter like a small white bomb. I wasn't supposed to see it. Laura had left it there while she showered, probably thinking I'd already left for work. But my meeting got canceled, and there I was, staring at heavy cardstock with gold embossing that read, Sterling and Holloway Regional Gala, an evening of excellence. The thing about being married for 8 years is you develop a sixth sense for when something's wrong. It's not dramatic. It's not a voice in your head or a chill down your spine. It's simpler than that. It's the way your wife suddenly needs to shower at 7:30 in the morning when she never did before. It's the way she tilts her phone away when texting. It's the way she says, I love you, like she's reading from a script she's tired of performing. I picked up the invitation. My name wasn't on it. Ms. Laura Rowe and guest, it said. But the guest line was blank, and clipped to the back with a silver paperclip was a printed seating chart. I found Laura's name immediately, table 3, right next to the head table where the executives would sit. I scanned for my name. Table 11, the back corner, near the restrooms. I heard the shower turn off upstairs. My job as a commercial facilities manager means I understand logistics. I understand floor plans, occupancy rates, sight lines. I understand that when you put someone at table 11, you're sending a message. You're saying, you don't matter. You're saying, we invited you because we had to, but we don't want to look at you. Laura came downstairs in her robe, hair wrapped in a towel. She saw me holding the invitation, and her face did something interesting. Not guilt, exactly. More like irritation at having to deal with an inconvenience. You found it, she said. I did. It's a work thing. Boring corporate event. You don't have to come. I looked at the seating chart. I'm already on the seating chart. She took the invitation from my hand, glanced at it, then set it down. They automatically add spouses. It's a formality. Table 11. Daniel, it's just random seating. Nobody cares where anyone sits. I nodded slowly. Right. Random. She moved past me toward the coffee maker, and I caught the scent of her shampoo, different from what she used to use. More expensive. The kind that comes in matte black bottles from boutique salons downtown. You've been working late a lot, I said. End of quarter, you know how it is. Do I? She turned, and for just a second, I saw something flicker across her face. Not fear, Laura doesn't do fear, but calculation. She was deciding something. What's that supposed to mean? I shrugged. Nothing, just an observation. You're being weird. Am I? She poured her coffee, added cream, no sugar anymore, another recent change, and checked her phone. I have a 7:30 call. I need to get ready. On a Friday? Grant wants to review the quarterly presentation before Monday. Grant Holloway, Regional Operations Director, her boss. The man whose name came up in conversation roughly 3 times more often than mine did. The man who, according to Laura, was brilliant and visionary and really understands the market. You two spend a lot of time together, I said. He's my boss, Daniel. That's how jobs work. Right. How jobs work. She stared at me for a long moment. Are you going to be like this all day? Like what? Passive-aggressive. Sulky. Whatever this is. I smiled. It was the smile I'd been practicing for months now. The one that said, I'm harmless. I'm oblivious. I'm the kind of man who sits at table 11 and doesn't complain about it. I'm not being anything, I said. Just tired. Her shoulders relaxed slightly. Get some rest. I'll be late tonight. Dinner with the team after the call. Another one? It's important. She kissed my cheek. Quick, perfunctory. The way you'd kiss a relative you're obligated to acknowledge. Then she headed back upstairs. I stood in the kitchen alone, looking at the invitation. An evening of excellence. I wondered if they'd serve salmon or chicken. I wondered if the wine would be good. I wondered if Grant Holloway would sit next to my wife and if their knees would touch under the table. I wondered if I cared anymore. The answer surprised me. I did. Not in the way I used to. Not with jealousy or heartbreak or any of the desperate emotions that had kept me up at night 6 months ago. I cared the way you care about a problem that needs solving. The way you care about a system that's broken and needs to be fixed. I picked up my phone and texted Maya Klein. Maya worked in Laura's department. Smart woman, observant. We'd talked a few times at company picnics and holiday parties. She always seemed to be watching, taking everything in, saying less than she knew. Me. Hey, Maya. Quick question about the gala next month. Do you know if the seating is assigned or can we move around? Her response came within 30 seconds. Maya. Assigned. Why? Me. Just curious. See you there. Maya. You're coming? Me. Wouldn't miss it. I sent the text and set the phone down. Then I opened my laptop and pulled up the calendar Laura thought I didn't have access to. She'd shared it with me years ago, back when we actually talked about our schedules, back when transparency and partnership were words she used unironically. She never revoked the access. I scrolled through 3 months of late meetings, client dinners, strategy sessions, off-site planning. I cross-referenced them with Grant Holloway's travel schedule, which was publicly available on the company's internal portal because he managed vendor relationships across 3 states. 12 overlaps. 12 times they were in the same city on the same night when they both claimed to be working alone. I wasn't a detective. I wasn't even particularly clever. I was just a man who knew how to read a spreadsheet and who'd stopped believing in coincidences. My phone buzzed. Laura, from upstairs. Laura, can you pick up my dry cleaning today? I need the navy suit for Monday. Me. Sure. Laura. Thanks. Love you. I stared at those last 2 words for a long time. They looked fake on the screen, like clip art, like something generated by an algorithm that didn't quite understand human emotion. I texted back, love you too. Then I opened a new document on my laptop and titled it Timeline. The gala was in 4 weeks. That gave me time. Time to watch, time to listen, time to confirm what I already knew, and time to decide what to do about it. Because here's the thing about being underestimated. People stop being careful around you. They talk freely, they make mistakes, they assume you're too stupid or too broken to notice. Laura assumed I was defeated. She assumed I'd sit at table 11 and eat my chicken and smile politely and drive home alone while she stayed late to network. She was wrong. I closed the laptop and looked at the invitation one more time. An evening of excellence. I smiled again, the same harmless smile I'd been practicing. Excellence, I said out loud to the empty kitchen. Let's see how excellent things get. The ballroom was the kind of expensive that tries too hard. Crystal chandeliers hung from a ceiling painted to look like a Renaissance fresco. Angels and clouds, and important-looking people pointing at things. Round tables covered in white linen filled the space, each one marked with gold numbers on small stands. A string quartet played in the corner, the kind of music designed to fade into the background of important conversations. I stood near the entrance, watching people arrive. The men wore dark suits that cost more than my monthly mortgage. The women wore dresses that probably had names I'd never heard of. Everyone smiled, everyone shook hands, everyone looked like they belonged here. I wore the charcoal suit Laura had picked out for me 3 years ago. It still fit, which I suppose said something about my life. Not growing, not changing, just maintaining. Laura had arrived 30 minutes before me. She'd driven separately, claiming she needed to help set up. I watched her now, standing near table 3, laughing at something Grant Holloway was saying. He wore a suit that fit him the way suits fit men in cologne advertisements. His hand rested on the back of her chair. Not touching her, just close enough. I found table 11. It was exactly where I'd expected it to be. In the back corner, partially blocked by a support column, with a view of nothing but the side of the stage and the exit sign above the kitchen doors. 6 chairs, 4 were empty. One held a woman I didn't recognize, maybe mid-50s, scrolling through her phone with the expression of someone fulfilling an obligation. The other held a younger guy, probably an intern, who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. I sat down. Neither of them looked up. The servers began circulating with wine. I took a glass of red, then another. The woman next to me finally glanced over, offered a tight smile, then returned to her phone. Exciting stuff, I said. She looked up again, confused. The gala, I said. Real edge-of-your-seat material. She smiled slightly. First time? You could tell? You're sitting at table 11. We're where they put the people who have to be here but shouldn't be seen. What did you do to deserve this? Husband works in legal. You? Wife works in operations. She nodded knowingly. Say less. The intern left without saying goodbye. The older woman followed 10 minutes later. I sat alone, watching the room fill with people who mattered. Then I heard heels clicking on the hardwood between the carpeted sections. Is this seat taken? I looked up. A woman in her early 30s stood there, holding a wine glass, wearing a dark green dress that looked professional but not boring. She had short black hair, sharp eyes, and a slight smile that suggested she found the whole event mildly amusing. All yours, I said. She sat down, glanced at the table number, then at me. Table 11. What did we do wrong? Exist, apparently. She laughed. I'm Natalie, marketing. Daniel, husband of someone in operations. Ah, the plus ones. The forgotten soldiers of corporate events. Another woman joined us. Mid-20s, blonde, nervous energy. Sorry, is this table 11? I got turned around. Unfortunately, yes, Natalie said. Have a seat. We're forming a support group. The blonde woman smiled and sat. I'm Jenna, executive assistant pool. Natalie, marketing. Daniel, professional seat filler. Jenna laughed. A server appeared with more wine. We all took fresh glasses. This is my third gala, Natalie said. They get worse every year. Last year they made us watch a 40-minute video about synergy. Please tell me you're joking, I said. I wish I was. They dimmed the lights and everything. People fell asleep. It was beautiful. Jenna leaned in. Is it true they're giving out awards tonight? Oh, absolutely, Natalie said. The Excellence in Excellence Award. Very prestigious. Very meaningless. I was laughing now. Actually laughing. It felt strange. I couldn't remember the last time Laura had made me laugh. A third woman appeared. Older, maybe late 40s, with auburn hair and the calm confidence of someone who'd stopped caring about impressing people years ago. Room for one more at the reject table? Always, Natalie said. The woman sat. Eleanor, finance. Welcome to table 11, I said, where careers come to reflect. Eleanor raised her glass. To being forgotten. We clinked glasses. The conversation flowed easily. Natalie told a story about a marketing campaign that accidentally used a slogan that meant something obscene in Spanish. Jenna talked about an executive who insisted his coffee be exactly 167 degrees. Eleanor described an audit that uncovered 17 expense reports for client dinners. At restaurants that didn't exist. I mostly listened, but I laughed. I added comments. I felt for the first time in months like a human being instead of a prop in someone else's story. Across the room, I saw Laura stand up abruptly. She was staring at our table, at me, at the three women laughing at something Natalie had just said. Grant Holloway leaned over and said something to her. She shook her head. He touched her arm. She pulled away. Your wife? Natalie asked quietly. I nodded. She looks upset. She does, doesn't she? Should you? No, I said. I don't think I should. Laura walked toward our table, not quickly, not slowly. The deliberate pace of someone trying to look casual while radiating tension. She stopped a few feet away. Daniel, can I talk to you? I'm kind of in the middle of something. Now. The table went quiet. Natalie, Jenna, and Eleanor all looked at their wine glasses with sudden, intense interest. Ladies, excuse me, I said. Duty calls. I stood and followed Laura toward the hallway outside the ballroom. She walked fast, heels clicking sharp on the marble floor. When we were alone, she turned. What are you doing? Sitting at my assigned table. You're embarrassing me. By sitting? By making a scene. I looked at her carefully. I haven't said a word to anyone about you. You're sitting there with those women, laughing, drinking. Yes, that's generally what people do at parties. Her jaw tightened. Everyone's watching. Let them watch. Daniel, I need you to take this seriously. I'm taking it very seriously. I came to your gala. I wore the suit you picked out. I'm sitting exactly where your company put me. You know what I mean. Do I? She stepped closer, lowering her voice. People are talking. About what? About you. About us. What are they saying? She hesitated. Just be normal, please. I am being normal. I'm having a conversation at a corporate event. That's extremely normal. With three women. There it was, the thing she couldn't quite say out loud. They sat at my table, I said. I didn't recruit them. We're having wine and making fun of the decorations. It's not a conspiracy. It looks bad. To who? She didn't answer. To Grant? I asked. Her face changed. Just slightly, just enough. Don't, she said. Don't what? Don't do this here. I'm not doing anything. I'm existing, in a room, at an event you invited me to. You're making this difficult. Am I? Because from where I'm standing, I'm making this very easy. I showed up, I smiled, I sat where I was told. I'm being the perfect corporate spouse. Isn't that what you wanted? She stared at me for a long moment. I could see her recalculating, trying to figure out which version of me she was dealing with. The defeated one who'd stopped asking questions 6 months ago. Or someone else. Just sit with me, she said finally. At my table. Your table is full. We'll make room. I don't want to make room. I'm fine where I am. Daniel? Laura. I kept my voice even, calm. I'm going back to table 11 now. I'm going to finish my wine. I'm going to listen to Eleanor's audit stories. And then I'm going to eat whatever overcooked chicken they serve us. And you're going to go back to table 3 and do whatever it is you need to do. And we're both going to get through this night like adults. She opened her mouth to respond, but I was already walking away. When I got back to the table, all 3 women were watching me. I sat down, picked up my wine, and took a long drink. Everything okay? Natalie asked carefully. Perfect, I said. Where were we? Eleanor leaned forward. You were about to tell us what you do. Facilities management, commercial properties. Interesting. So you manage buildings? Pretty much. Access systems, vendor contracts, occupancy logistics. Sounds complicated. It's mostly just knowing who's supposed to be where and when and why. Jenna tilted her head. That actually sounds kind of powerful. Like you know everyone's schedules. I know some things, I said. Across the room, Laura sat back down at table 3. Grant Holloway leaned toward her, speaking quietly. She nodded, her expression tight. She didn't look at me again, but I looked at her, and I smiled. Because for the first time in 8 years, Laura was afraid of me. Not enough. Not yet. But enough to know something had shifted. Enough to know I wasn't going to sit quietly anymore. The servers brought the salads, the string quartet played, the chandeliers sparkled. And at table 11, in the back corner, near the exit sign, I sat with 3 women I'd just met and felt more alive than I had in months. To table 11, Natalie said, raising her glass. We all raised ours. To being exactly where we need to be, I said. We drank, and the night was just beginning. The salads disappeared. The main course arrived. Chicken, as I'd predicted, with a cream sauce that had already started to separate on the plate. Natalie made a joke about deconstructed cuisine. Eleanor suggested it was minimalist. Jenna said it tasted like cafeteria food dressed up for prom. I didn't say anything. I was watching Laura. She'd barely touched her food. She kept glancing at our table, then looking away quickly like she'd been caught at something. Grant Holloway sat beside her, occasionally leaning close to whisper something. Each time he did, her posture stiffened slightly. Your wife really doesn't like us, Natalie observed quietly. It's not personal, I said. Feels personal. She's just having a bad night. Because you're sitting with us? I took a sip of wine. Because she's realizing she doesn't control the narrative anymore. Eleanor raised an eyebrow. That's a very specific thing to say. I'm a very specific person. The lights dimmed. A man in an expensive suit walked onto the stage and tapped the microphone. People settled into their seats, conversations dropping to murmurs. The awards portion was beginning. The speeches were exactly what you'd expect. Excellence. Innovation. Synergy. Moving forward together. Words that sounded important but meant nothing. People clapped politely. A few executives walked up to receive glass plaques that probably cost $17 wholesale. Grant Holloway was called to the stage. He gave a short speech about operational efficiency and strategic partnerships. He thanked his team. He made eye contact with Laura. She smiled. I kept my face neutral. When he finished, people stood to applaud. Laura stood first, clapping harder than anyone else. I stayed seated. Not a fan? Jenna asked. I'm sure he's very good at his job, I said. Natalie studied my face. But, no buts, just observation. The lights came back up. Servers began clearing plates. The string quartet returned. People stood, mingling, forming small clusters around the room. Social lubrication, networking, whatever you call the dance of people pretending to care about each other's careers. Our table broke up naturally. Jenna excused herself to find the restroom. Eleanor spotted someone she knew from another department. Natalie stayed, finishing her wine. Can I ask you something? She said. Sure. Why are you really here? I was invited. That's not what I'm asking. I looked at her. She was sharper than I'd initially given her credit for. What do you think I'm doing? Honestly, I think you're making a point. I just don't know what it is yet. Maybe I'm just tired of sitting in corners. Maybe, or maybe you already know something everyone else is still pretending not to notice. Before I could respond, Laura was walking toward us. Not casually this time, directly, quickly. Her face was flushed, from the wine, from anger, maybe both. She stopped at the table. Daniel, we're leaving. I'm not ready to leave. I don't care. We're going. Natalie stood. I should... Stay, I said. Please. Laura's eyes flicked to Natalie, then back to me. Now, Daniel. Why? Because I'm asking you to. That's not a reason. Her voice rose slightly. Not quite a shout, but loud enough that the people at the nearest tables turned to look. Because I'm your wife, and I'm asking you to come home with me. You didn't want me here in the first place. Don't do this. Do what? Have a conversation? Make a scene. I'm sitting at a table. You're the one making a scene. She stepped closer, and I could smell the wine on her breath. You think this is funny? You think you can just what? You know what? Say it, Laura. Her hands were shaking, barely, but I noticed. You're humiliating me. By existing? By sitting here with these women. These women have names, Natalie said quietly. Laura turned to her. Stay out of this. You brought me into it when you decided to make assumptions about why I'm sitting here. I wasn't talking to you. You were talking about me. That's close enough. Laura's face went red. Who do you think you are? Someone who didn't do anything wrong, Natalie said. Someone who's just trying to get through a boring corporate event. Same as you. It's not the same. Why not? Laura opened her mouth, then closed it. She looked around and realized people were watching now. A dozen conversations had stopped. Heads were turning. The room had gotten quieter. Grant Holloway appeared at Laura's side. Everything okay here? No, Laura said. We're leaving. I'm not, I said. Grant looked at me for the first time all night. Really looked. His expression was careful, controlled. The face of someone used to managing problems. Daniel, maybe it's best if I what? I stood up. If I sit somewhere else? If I go home? If I stop existing where people can see me? That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? He glanced at Laura, then back to me. I think Laura's had a stressful night. Maybe you both should... Leave? I finished. Go home? Stop causing problems for everyone? I'm trying to help. Are you? Because from where I'm standing, you're trying to manage the situation. That's different from helping. His jaw tightened. Look, I don't know what's going on between you two, but this isn't the place. Where is the place, Grant? The use of his first name made him pause. Where's the place to talk about all those late meetings? I continued. All those business trips that happen to overlap? All those dinners that run until midnight? Laura grabbed my arm. Daniel, stop! I pulled away gently. Why? What am I saying that isn't true? You're drunk. I've had 3 glasses of wine in 2 hours. I'm perfectly sober. Then you're being cruel. I'm being honest. Those are different things. People were openly staring now. The music had stopped. I saw Eleanor standing near the bar, watching with wide eyes. Jenna had come back from the restroom and frozen halfway across the room. Grant stepped between me and Laura. Daniel, I think you need to calm down. I'm perfectly calm. You're making accusations? Am I? I didn't accuse anyone of anything. I asked questions. Is asking questions not allowed? Not like this. How should I ask them? Through proper channels? Should I schedule a meeting? Should I send an email to HR with CCs and read receipts? His face went pale. That's what I thought, I said. Laura was crying now. Not sobbing, just tears running silently down her face, which somehow made it worse. People were pulling out phones. Someone would have video of this by tomorrow. The story would spread through the company like fire through dry grass. Part of me felt bad. Part of me wanted to stop, to apologize, to make this easier for everyone. But the larger part, the part that had been sitting at table 11, the part that had been watching Laura and Grant laugh together, the part that had been ignored for months, that part wanted to keep going. I'm going to finish my drink, I said, and then I'm going to leave. But I'm not leaving with you, Laura, not tonight. She wiped her eyes. Fine. Do whatever you want. You always do. Do I? She turned and walked away. Fast, heels clicking. Grant followed her, putting a hand on her shoulder that she didn't shake off. I sat back down, picked up my wine glass. My hand wasn't shaking. Natalie sat down slowly. That was a mistake, I offered. I was going to say brave, but maybe also a mistake. Probably both. Eleanor rejoined us, then Jenna. None of them said anything for a moment. The room gradually resumed its background noise. Conversation starting again, nervous laughter, the sound of people processing what they'd just witnessed. Can I ask you something now? I said to Natalie. Sure. How long has everyone known about them? She didn't pretend to misunderstand. About your wife and Grant. Yeah. She looked at her wine. Long enough that it became the thing nobody talks about. Months? Longer. A year? Probably closer to 2. I nodded slowly. and nobody thought to mention it to me. Would you have believed them? Probably not. That's why nobody said anything. That, and nobody wants to be the person who ruins someone's marriage. Even when the marriage is already over? Especially then. Jenna leaned forward. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I didn't know you before tonight, but nobody deserves that. Thanks. Eleanor raised her glass. To uncomfortable truths. We drank. The gala continued around us. The lights stayed bright. The music played. People danced. But I noticed a shift. People looking at me differently. Not with pity, exactly. More like recognition, like they'd seen me for the first time. I'd stopped being invisible, and I realized that was exactly what I'd wanted. Not the scene, not the confrontation, but the acknowledgement. The proof that I existed, that I mattered, that I could not be ignored. My phone buzzed. A text from Laura. Laura, we need to talk. Tomorrow. I didn't respond. Another buzz. Maya Klein. Maya, are you okay? I just heard what happened. Me. I'm fine. Can we meet Monday? Maya. Yes. Coffee. 8 a.m. You know where. Me. I'll be there. I finished my wine, thanked Natalie, Eleanor, and Jenna for their company, and walked out of the ballroom. Nobody stopped me. Nobody said anything. But I felt their eyes following me all the way to the door. Outside, the night air was cool and sharp. I stood in the parking lot looking up at the building. Somewhere inside, Laura was probably crying in a bathroom. Grant was probably trying to do damage control. People were probably already texting their friends about what they'd witnessed. I got in my car and sat there for a moment, engine running, heat slowly filling the cabin. Then I smiled, because everything had gone exactly according to plan. I didn't sleep that night, not because I was upset, not because I was processing what had happened, but because I was finally, after months of pretending, allowing myself to remember everything I'd been deliberately ignoring. Memory is a strange thing. We like to think of it as a recording device, playing back events exactly as they happened, but it's not. It's more like a filing system where you choose what to keep and what to throw away. And for the past 2 years, I'd been throwing away a lot. Now I was pulling it all back out. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and a notebook, reconstructing the timeline. Not dramatically, not with string and photographs pinned to a wall like some detective in a movie. Just methodically, chronologically. The way someone who manages building access logs and vendor schedules would approach any problem. The first sign had been so small I'd almost missed it entirely. 18 months ago, a Tuesday. Laura came home at 7:30 instead of her usual 6. She said she'd had a late meeting, nothing unusual about that. People have late meetings. But when she hung up her coat, I noticed something. Her blouse was buttoned wrong. One button off, the kind of mistake you make when you're getting dressed quickly, when you're distracted, when your mind is somewhere else. I didn't say anything. I told myself I was imagining things. I told myself she'd probably just used the bathroom at work and rebuttoned carelessly. I told myself 100 small lies because the alternative was too ugly to look at directly, but I remembered it, and I filed it away. 3 weeks later, she came home with a new perfume. Not the one I'd bought her for Christmas. Something else. Something expensive that came in a simple glass bottle with a French name I couldn't pronounce. Where'd you get that? I asked. Oh, just picked it up at lunch. You like it? It's nice. What's the occasion? No occasion. I just felt like treating myself. Treating herself. With perfume that cost more than we usually spent on groceries in a week. During a month when she'd been complaining about budget constraints. I filed that away too. Then came the phone calls. The ones she used to take in front of me that she suddenly started taking in another room. The ones where her voice changed slightly. Got softer, more careful. Like she was talking to someone who required a different version of herself. Work stuff, she'd say when she came back. Boring logistics. I nodded. I smiled. I went back to whatever I'd been doing, but I remembered. The business trips increased. 1 every month became 2, every month became 3. Cities I'd never heard her mention before suddenly became regular destinations. Atlanta, Phoenix, Denver. She'd send photos from hotel rooms. Generic views of city skylines, room service trays, the kind of images that could have been taken anywhere by anyone. Wish you were here, she'd text. But she never invited me, and I never asked to come. I pulled up her calendar now, the one she still didn't know I had access to. I started making a list, every business trip in the past 18 months, every late meeting, every client dinner, every strategy session. Then I pulled up Grant Holloway's public schedule. As regional operations director, his calendar was visible to anyone in the company portal. It had to be. He managed vendor relationships across multiple states, and people needed to know when he was available. I started cross-referencing. The first match was 13 months ago. Laura in Denver. Grant in Denver. Same 3-day window. Could be coincidence. The second match was 2 weeks later. Laura in Atlanta. Grant in Atlanta. Same hotel chain. I checked their expense reports, which were partially visible through the vendor management system I had access to for facilities purposes. Still could be coincidence. The third match, the fourth, the fifth. By the time I reached the 12th match, coincidence had become statistical impossibility. They'd been in the same city, on the same dates, staying in the same hotels 12 times in 13 months. Sometimes for a single night, sometimes for 3 or 4 days, always during the week, always with legitimate-looking business justifications. I made a spreadsheet. Date, location, duration, stated business purpose, supporting evidence. My phone buzzed. 3 a.m, a text from Maya. Maya. Can't sleep either? Me. How'd you know? Maya. Because if I were you, I'd be doing exactly what you're probably doing right now. Making lists, building timelines, confirming suspicions. Me. Am I that predictable? Maya. No, you're just that methodical. It's actually kind of impressive. Most people would have thrown something or gotten drunk or done something stupid. Me. The night's still young. Maya. Don't. You're doing this the right way. Stay calm, stay focused, stay 3 steps ahead. Me. You sound like you've done this before. Maya. Different situation, similar principles. I'll tell you about it Monday. Me. Looking forward to it. Maya. Get some sleep, Daniel. You're going to need your energy. I set the phone down and looked at my spreadsheet. 12 confirmed overlaps. 12 times they'd been together when they thought nobody was paying attention. 12 times they'd looked at me and lied about where they were going and why. The interesting thing wasn't the lying. Everyone lies. We lie about small things all the time to avoid unnecessary friction, to keep life moving smoothly, to protect people's feelings. That's normal. That's human. No. The interesting thing was the elaborateness of it, the detail, the coordination required. This wasn't casual, this wasn't a mistake. This was a system, a routine, something they'd built together and maintained over more than a year. That took commitment, that took planning, that took giving a damn about something, just not about me. I opened another document and started writing down everything I could remember about the past 18 months. Not just the business trips, everything. The way Laura had stopped asking about my day, the way conversations had become transactional, grocery lists, bill payments, schedule coordination, the way she'd started sleeping on her side of the bed with a pillow between us, a soft barrier that said, "Stay over there," without words. The way she'd stopped laughing at my jokes, the way she'd stopped making jokes of her own, the way silence had become the dominant feature of our home, broken only by necessary exchanges of information. I remembered coming home early one afternoon, maybe 6 months ago. She'd been on the phone in the bedroom. I heard her laugh, really laugh, the kind of free, unself-conscious sound she used to make when we first met. I stood outside the door and listened. "No, you're ridiculous," she said. Then a pause. "I'm not saying that." Another pause. "Okay, maybe I'm saying that." More laughing. "Fine. I'll see you tomorrow." "Yes. Goodbye." When she came out, she saw me and her face changed instantly, like a light switching off. "Hey," she said. "Didn't hear you come in." "Just got here. Who was that?" "Grant, just work stuff." "Sounded like you were having fun." "Did it?" She walked past me toward the kitchen. "We were just joking about a vendor who keeps messing up orders. Must have been a funny vendor. It's one of those things that's only funny if you're dealing with it directly." I nodded. "Right, insider humor." "Exactly." She made coffee. I made a sandwich. We existed in the same space without touching, without connecting, without acknowledging the enormous distance that had opened up between us. I filed that away too. Now, sitting at the kitchen table at 3:30 in the morning, I pulled all of those files back out and laid them in a line, a chronological sequence of a marriage ending in slow motion, not with a bang, not with a dramatic confrontation or a tearful confession, just with a gradual hollowing out, a slow replacement of substance with procedure, until all that was left was the shell of something that used to matter. The thing that bothered me most wasn't the affair itself. People have affairs, people make mistakes, people get lonely or bored or scared, and they reach for something that makes them feel alive again. I understood that intellectually, even if I didn't agree with it. No, what bothered me was the calculation, the deliberateness. The way Laura had looked me in the eye, night after night, and chosen to maintain the lie. Not because she was protecting me, not because she was trying to figure things out, but because it was convenient. Because leaving was hard and staying was easy, and as long as I didn't ask questions, she could have both. Me at home, paying half the mortgage, maintaining the appearance of normal. Him wherever they met, providing whatever it was I wasn't providing. I was a placeholder, a bookmark in a story she was writing with someone else. That realization should have hurt more than it did. But I'd been processing it for months now, in small doses, every time I noticed something new and chose to ignore it. The pain had been distributed over time, diluted, manageable. What I felt now wasn't pain, it was clarity. I closed my laptop and opened the envelope from the gala. The invitation was still there, along with the seating chart. I looked at table 3, where Laura had sat next to Grant, then at table 11, where I'd sat with 3 women whose names I barely knew, but who'd treated me with more respect in 3 hours than my wife had shown me in 3 months. My phone buzzed again. Not Maya this time. Laura. Laura, are you awake? I stared at the message for a long moment. I could see the 3 dots indicating she was typing something else. Then they stopped, then started again, then stopped. I didn't respond. Laura, we really need to talk. This can't wait until tomorrow. Me. It's waited this long. It can wait a few more hours. Laura. Daniel, please. I'm sorry about tonight. I was stressed and I had too much wine and I overreacted. Me. Did you? Laura. Yes. I shouldn't have made a scene. I shouldn't have asked you to leave. I was wrong. Me. Okay. Laura. That's it? Just okay? Me. What else do you want me to say? Laura. I want you to tell me we're going to be fine. I want you to tell me you forgive me. Me. I can't do that right now. Laura. Why not? Me. Because I don't know if we're going to be fine. And I don't know if I forgive you. I need time to think. Laura. Time to think about what? Me? Everything. The 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times. Then nothing for 2 minutes. Then, Laura. Are you going to leave me? I looked at that question for a long time. The interesting thing was, I didn't know the answer. Not yet. Leaving seemed obvious, seemed like the only rational response to what I'd discovered. But there was something else I wanted first. Something I needed. Me. I don't know. But I'm not making any decisions at 3:30 in the morning after the night we just had. Laura. Fair. Can we talk tomorrow? In person? Just the 2 of us? Me. Monday, after I get back from my meeting. Laura. What meeting? Me. Just coffee with someone from your office. Maya Klein. The 3 dots appeared immediately. Laura. Why are you meeting with Maya? Me. She invited me. We're friends. Laura. Since when? Me. Since tonight, I guess. She seems nice. Laura. Daniel. Maya is... Me. Maya is what? Laura. She's complicated. She knows things. She talks. Me. So do I, apparently. Laura. That's not what I meant. Me. What did you mean? No response for 3 minutes. Then, Laura. Just be careful. Please? Me. Of what? Laura. Of who you trust. I almost laughed. Of who I trust. From the woman who'd been lying to me for 18 months. The irony was so thick you could cut it with a dull knife. Me. Thanks for the advice. I'll keep it in mind. Laura. I love you. I stared at those 3 words. They looked even more fake than they had yesterday morning, like something copied and pasted from a template, like something she said because she was supposed to say it, not because she meant it. I didn't respond. I turned off my phone, closed my laptop, and sat in the dark kitchen listening to the refrigerator hum and the house settle and the sound of my own breathing. Somewhere in this city, Grant Holloway was probably asleep, probably content, probably not worried about anything because why would he be? He was winning. He had the career, the respect, the corner office, and my wife. He had everything and I had nothing, except information and time, and a growing sense that I was very good at being underestimated. I went upstairs, took a shower, and got into bed. I didn't sleep, but I rested. I stared at the ceiling and thought about Monday's meeting with Maya. I thought about what questions to ask and how to ask them. I thought about the difference between knowing something and proving something and how to close that gap. Most of all, I thought about revenge. Not the hot kind, not the kind that happens in a moment of rage and ruins your life, but the cold kind, the calculated kind, the kind that happens slowly, methodically, in ways that can't be undone or defended against, because by the time anyone realizes what's happening, it's already too late. The sun came up. Laura's car pulled into the driveway around 7. I heard her come inside, heard her pause at the bottom of the stairs, heard her decide not to come up. She went to the guest room. I heard the door close quietly. We were living in the same house, but existing in different worlds now. The pretense was over. The performance had ended. All that was left was the aftermath. I got up, got dressed, and made coffee. Then I sat back down at the kitchen table and opened my laptop. I had work to do. The coffee shop was one of those aggressively neutral places that exists in every city. Exposed brick, Edison bulbs, reclaimed wood tables that looked expensive but wobbled when you set your cup down. The kind of place where people bring laptops and pretend to work while mostly watching other people pretend to work. Maya was already there when I arrived. She sat in the back corner, away from the windows, with 2 cups in front of her. She saw me and raised one slightly. "Wasn't sure what you drank," she said as I sat down. "Got you a black coffee. Figured I couldn't go wrong." "You figured right." She looked tired. Not the kind of tired you get from one bad night, but the accumulated exhaustion of someone who's been carrying something heavy for a long time. "Thanks for meeting me," I said. "Thanks for trusting me enough to show up." "Should I not trust you?" She smiled slightly. "Laura certainly doesn't want you to." "She texted me at 3 in the morning to warn me about you." "Did she? What did she say?" "That you're complicated, that you know things, that you talk." "All true. Does that bother you?" "Depends on what you know and who you're talking to." She took a sip of her coffee, considering. "Fair. So let me be direct. I know about Laura and Grant. I've known for about a year. I didn't tell you before last night because I didn't know you, and people generally don't appreciate strangers blowing up their lives. But after what happened at the gala, I figured you either already knew or were about to find out anyway." "I already knew." "For how long?" "Suspected for about 6 months, confirmed for about 3. "But you didn't say anything." "No." "Why not?" I looked at my coffee. It was a good question, the kind that required an honest answer. "Because part of me wanted to be wrong, and part of me wanted to see how far they'd go, and part of me—" I paused. "Part of me was trying to figure out what I actually wanted." "And what do you want?" "I want them to understand what they did, not just intellectually, not just as an abstract concept. I want them to feel it." Maya nodded slowly. "That's darker than I expected." "Is it?" "Most people want reconciliation or escape. You want something else." "What would you call it?" "Justice, maybe. Or revenge. Depends on your perspective." "Which do you think it is?" "I think it's both, and I think that's okay." We sat in silence for a moment. Around us, the coffee shop noise continued. Espresso machines hissing, conversations blending into white noise, someone's laptop playing music too quietly to identify. "Can I tell you something?" Maya said. "Please?" "I used to be married. 5 years. Good guy, or so I thought. Turned out he'd been having an affair with his business partner for most of our marriage. I found out when she got pregnant and they decided they couldn't hide it anymore. I'm sorry. Don't be. It was 3 years ago. I'm over it. But here's what I learned. The affair itself wasn't the worst part. The worst part was realizing how many people knew and didn't tell me. Colleagues, friends, even family members who thought they were being kind by staying quiet. What did you do? I left, took half of everything, filed for separation, made it as clean as possible because I wanted it over. But you know what I regret? What? Not making it hurt, not making him understand what he'd done. I took the high road, and all it got me was the satisfaction of being morally superior while he got to move on immediately with someone else. So you think I should make it hurt? I think you should do whatever you need to do to feel like you have control again, as long as you're smart about it. Define smart. She leaned forward. Nothing illegal, nothing violent, nothing that ruins your life more than theirs. But within those boundaries, make them uncomfortable, make them accountable, make them realize they're not untouchable. You sound like you've thought about this. I've had 3 years to think about what I wish I'd done differently. I took a drink of coffee. It was good, strong, exactly what I needed. So what do you know that I don't? About the affair? About everything. Maya pulled out her phone and opened a notes app. Okay, let's start with the timeline. They've been involved for approximately 18 months, maybe longer. It started after a company retreat in Nashville. Grant's wife had just filed for separation. Wait, Grant's married? Was married. They separated about 2 years ago. Finalized the proceedings last summer. No kids, thankfully. Does Laura know this? She was at the retreat, so yes. I processed that. Laura had known Grant was ending his marriage when she started sleeping with him. That added a new dimension to things. Not just an affair, but a calculated decision to be part of someone else's marital collapse. Keep going, I said. Most of their meetings happen under the cover of legitimate business. Grant has control over vendor contracts and expense approvals, which means he can create reasons for both of them to travel. Laura manages regional operations budgets, which gives her authority to approve the spending. It's a closed loop. Clever. Very. But it also means there's a paper trail. Nothing explicit, but patterns. Too many overlapping trips. Too many approvals that bypass normal review processes. Too many vendor relationships that seem to favor companies that just happen to be headquartered in cities they both visit. You're saying they're not just having an affair. They're possibly involved in something financial. I'm saying the affair is giving them cover for questionable business decisions. Whether that's intentional or just convenient, I don't know. But it's there. Has anyone reported this? No, because nobody wants to be the person who accuses two executives of impropriety without solid proof, especially when one of them is Grant Holloway, who's being groomed for VP. He's getting promoted? Supposed to be announced next quarter, contingent on successful completion of the quarterly review, which means he's motivated to keep everything looking clean. I sat back, thinking, a promotion, a paper trail, a closed loop of approvals. This was bigger than I'd realized. This wasn't just about an affair. This was about people who thought they were smart enough to mix personal and professional misconduct and get away with it because nobody was paying attention. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because you asked, and because I'm tired of watching people get away with things. You could report it yourself. I could. But I'm not the one with standing. I'm not the injured party. You are. So you want me to be your weapon? I want you to have all the information before you decide what to do. What you do with it is your choice. But you have an opinion, she smiled. I have several opinions. Want to hear them? Yes. Opinion 1. You're calmer than you should be, which means you're planning something. Opinion 2. Whatever you're planning, you've thought it through, which means you're probably smarter than people give you credit for. Opinion 3. If you're going to do this, do it completely. Don't half measure. Don't leave room for them to recover. Those are specific opinions. I'm a specific person. Like me? Exactly like you. I looked at her carefully. What do you get out of helping me? Honestly, satisfaction. I don't get justice for my situation, but maybe I can help you get justice for yours. It's petty. It's vindictive, but it's also the truth. I appreciate the honesty. You're welcome. Now let me ask you something. What's your end game? What does success look like? I thought about that. I'd been thinking about it for weeks, actually, running scenarios in my head, testing different outcomes, trying to figure out what would actually make me feel better. I want Grant to resign, I said. I want Laura to lose her reputation. I want everyone who knew and said nothing to feel uncomfortable, and I want to walk away clean. That's ambitious. Is it possible? Maybe, but you'll need more than suspicions and overlapping calendars. You'll need witnesses. You'll need documentation. You'll need people willing to go on record. Do you know people who would? She hesitated. I know people who are uncomfortable with what's been happening. Whether they'd actually speak up depends on how much protection they think they'd have. What kind of protection? Legal, professional. The kind that comes from knowing they're doing the right thing and won't get destroyed for it. Can you set up meetings? With who? Anyone who knows anything. Anyone who's seen things. Anyone who's tired of pretending nothing's wrong. Maya looked at me for a long moment. You're serious about this? Completely. You understand that once you start down this road, there's no going back. People will take sides. Things will get ugly. You might lose friends you didn't know you had. I don't have friends in Laura's world. I have acquaintances who tolerate me because they have to. Fair point. She pulled out her phone and started typing. Okay, I know 2 people who might talk to you, both women, both in Laura's department. Both have seen things they didn't like but kept quiet because speaking up seemed worse than staying silent. Who are they? Better if you meet them yourself. I'll set something up. Casual, coffee or lunch. Nothing that looks like an interrogation. When? This week. I'll text you. Thank you, Maya. Don't thank me yet. This might not go the way you want. It's already not going the way I want. At least now I'm doing something about it. She smiled. Spoken like someone who's done being a victim. I was never a victim. I was just patient. There's a difference? Victims react. Patient people plan. I like that. Can I use it? Be my guest. We finished our coffee. Maya gave me her number and told me she'd be in touch within 48 hours. As we stood to leave, she put a hand on my arm. Daniel? Yeah? Whatever happens, don't lose yourself in this. Revenge is satisfying, but it's also consuming. Make sure you know when to stop. I will. Promise? I promise. She nodded and left. I stayed for a few more minutes, watching the Monday morning crowd filter in. Professionals getting their caffeine fix before another week of meetings and emails and performance reviews. Regular people living regular lives, unaware that everything they took for granted could shift in an instant. My phone buzzed. Laura. Laura, where are you? Me, coffee shop. Meeting ran long. Laura, with Maya? Me, yes. Laura, what did you talk about? Me, work stuff. She's thinking about switching departments. Laura, that's it? Me, what else would we talk about? No response for 2 minutes. Laura, when are you coming home? Me, this afternoon. I have some errands to run first. Laura, we need to talk. Me, I know, tonight, after dinner. Laura, okay, I'll make something. Me, don't. I'll pick something up. Laura, Daniel, I want to do something nice for you. Me, you don't need to do something nice for me. You just need to be honest with me. Laura, I am being honest. Me, are you? The 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times. Then nothing. I left the coffee shop and got in my car. Instead of going home, I drove to Laura's office building. Not inside, just the parking lot. I sat there for 20 minutes, watching people come and go, watching the flow of bodies moving through glass doors into the corporate machine. Grant's car was there, black luxury sedan, always perfectly clean, always perfectly parked. The kind of car that announces success without saying a word. I took a photo of it. Not for any particular reason. Just documentation. Just proof that I was here, that I was watching, that I was paying attention. Then I drove to 3 other locations. A restaurant Laura had mentioned in passing. A hotel where her company had a corporate rate. A coffee shop near Grant's previous office where she'd once said she'd stopped for a meeting. At each place, I went inside and asked a simple question. I'm trying to track down my wife's credit card statement from last month. Do you have a record of Laura Rowe being here? 2 of the 3 said yes. 1 even pulled up transaction records. A dinner for 2, wine, dessert, paid for with Grant's corporate card but with Laura's rewards number attached. Must have been a business dinner, the manager said. Must have been, I agreed. I thanked them and left. By the time I got home, it was almost 3 in the afternoon. Laura's car wasn't in the driveway. She'd texted, Laura, had to go into office. Emergency meeting, be home by 6. Me. Okay. I went inside, opened my laptop, and added everything I'd learned to my growing file. The timeline expanded, the evidence accumulated, the picture became clearer, and slowly, very slowly, a plan began to take shape. Wednesday afternoon, I met Natalie for lunch. It wasn't planned. She texted me Tuesday night, casual and friendly. Hey, you survived Saturday. Want to grab food and debrief? I'd said yes immediately. We met at a Thai place downtown, the kind of restaurant that's too cheap to be impressive, but too good to be ignored. She was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table with spring rolls and 2 menus. Hope you like Thai, she said. If not, there's a burger place next door. Thai's perfect, we ordered. The conversation started light. Weather, traffic, the general absurdity of corporate life. But eventually, it drifted where I knew it would. So, Natalie said, that was quite a night. It was. You doing okay? Define okay. Fair point. Let me rephrase. Are you surviving? I'm surviving. Might even be thriving. Hard to tell? She laughed. I like that answer. Most people would be drowning themselves in self-pity by now. Most people aren't as good at compartmentalizing. Is that what you're doing? Compartmentalizing? I'm doing whatever gets me through the day. The food arrived. We ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Then Natalie set down her fork and looked at me directly. Can I ask you something personal? Sure. How long have you known? About Laura and Grant. Yeah. Suspected for 6 months, confirmed for 3. And you just stayed. I had my reasons. Which were? I considered how much to tell her. But something about Natalie made me trust her. Maybe it was the way she defended me at the gala. Maybe it was just that I was tired of holding everything inside. I needed time, I said. Time to understand what was happening. Time to decide what I wanted. Time to prepare. Prepare for what? For whatever comes next. She studied my face. You're planning something. Maybe. Daniel, I'm going to give you some advice you didn't ask for. Whatever you're planning, make sure it's worth it. Revenge feels good in the moment, but it has a way of costing more than you think. I'll keep that in mind. I'm serious. I've seen people destroy themselves trying to hurt the people who hurt them. It's not pretty. I appreciate the concern, but I'm not trying to destroy myself, just trying to understand the full picture. The full picture of what? Of how long this has been going on, of how many people knew, of how elaborate the lie was. Natalie was quiet for a moment. Then, you want me to tell you what I know? Only if you want to. She sighed. I don't have proof of anything, just observations. Things I've seen, things people have said when they thought nobody was listening. That's more than I had 3 days ago. Okay, here's what I know. Laura and Grant started showing up together at client events about 1.5 years ago. Nothing suspicious at first. They work in the same department. It made sense. But then people started noticing patterns. They'd arrive separately but leave together. They'd sit next to each other even when the seating wasn't assigned. They'd have these long conversations in corners where they thought nobody was watching. Anyone ever say anything? Not directly, but there was talk. You know how offices are. Someone sees something, tells someone else, and pretty soon everyone knows, but nobody wants to be the one to make it official. Why not? Because Grant's powerful, because Laura's ambitious, because nobody wants to be the person who ruins 2 careers over speculation. Even when it's not speculation. Even then. I took a drink of water. Did anyone ever mention specific incidents? Specific times or places? Natalie hesitated. There was a company retreat last summer. Austin. Someone saw them coming out of the same hotel room early in the morning. Both of them claimed they'd been up all night working on a presentation, which technically could have been true, but probably wasn't. Right. Who saw them? I don't know. It was someone in finance. The story went around the department, but nobody wanted to put their name on it. Anything else? There was an incident at a conference in Chicago. 6 months ago. Someone from a client company mentioned seeing Laura and Grant at dinner together, very cozy, holding hands under the table. When word got back to our office, they both claimed it was a misunderstanding, that the client must have seen them with other people. Did anyone believe that? No. But nobody pushed it either. I made mental notes of everything she was saying. Austin, Chicago, hotel rooms, client witnesses. It was all circumstantial, but circumstantial evidence becomes powerful when there's enough of it. Thank you for telling me this, I said. I'm not trying to hurt anyone. I just think you deserve to know the truth. I appreciate that. So what are you going to do with it? I don't know yet, but I'm keeping my options open. We finished lunch. Natalie picked up the check before I could protest. My invitation? My treat? She said. As we walked out, she turned to me. Daniel, one more thing. Yeah? Be careful. Grant's not stupid. If he thinks you're gathering information, he'll move to protect himself. And Laura, she's going to be defensive. This is going to get ugly before it gets better. I know. Do you? Because from where I'm standing, you seem very calm for someone whose life is falling apart. Maybe my life was already apart, and I'm just finally acknowledging it. She smiled sadly. Maybe. Just don't lose yourself in this, okay? Don't become the villain in your own story. I won't. Promise? Promise. She hugged me, quick and friendly, then headed to her car. I stood in the parking lot for a moment, processing everything she'd told me. Austin, Chicago, hotel rooms, witnesses. The picture was getting clearer. Thursday evening, I met Jenna for coffee. She texted me Wednesday morning. Hey, this is random, but want to grab coffee sometime? I'm free Thursday after work. I'd said yes. We met at the same coffee shop where I'd met Maya. Different corner, same Edison bulbs, same reclaimed wood tables. Jenna looked nervous when I arrived, like she wasn't sure this was a good idea. Thanks for meeting me, she said. I know this is weird. It's not weird. It kind of is. We barely know each other. We survived table 11 together. That creates a bond, she laughed. I guess it does. We ordered coffee. She got something complicated with extra foam and caramel. I got black coffee again. We sat. So, Jenna said, I'm just going to be direct. I wanted to talk to you because I feel bad. About what? About not saying anything sooner. About knowing what was happening and staying quiet. You knew about Laura and Grant? Everyone knew, or at least everyone suspected. But nobody wanted to be the one to tell you because, I don't know, because it's awkward. because you never want to be the person who delivers that kind of news. I understand that. Do you? Because I feel terrible. You seem like a good person. You didn't deserve what happened at the gala. You didn't deserve any of this. I appreciate that. I wanted you to know that some of us felt sick about it, about watching it happen and not doing anything. So do something now. She looked surprised. What do you mean? Tell me what you know. Not rumors, not speculation, actual things you've seen or heard. She bit her lip. I don't want to get anyone in trouble. You won't. I'm not trying to hurt anyone. I'm just trying to understand what happened. Are you sure? Because it feels like you're building a case. Maybe I am. Does that bother you? She thought about it. No, actually it doesn't. I think people should be held accountable for their actions. I just don't want to be the reason someone loses their job. They won't lose their job because of what you tell me. They'll lose their job, if they lose it at all, because of what they did. She nodded slowly. Okay, what do you want to know? Start with what you've personally witnessed. All right, so I work in the executive assistant pool, which means I handle calendar management, travel arrangements, expense reports, all of that. About a year ago, I started noticing that Grant's travel schedule and Laura's travel schedule overlapped a lot, like suspiciously a lot. How often? At least once a month, sometimes more. They'd both book flights to the same city on the same days, claim they were there for different client meetings, but stay at the same hotels. Did you ever verify the client meetings? Not my job to verify. My job is just to book what they tell me to book. But, yeah, I looked a few times. Out of curiosity. Some of the client companies they claimed to be meeting with didn't have any record of scheduled meetings on those dates. So they were lying. Or the clients were lying. Or the meetings were informal. I don't know, but it seemed suspicious. What else? Expense reports. Grant would submit expenses for dinners for two, charge them to vendor relationship development, but the vendor companies would later tell us they weren't present at those dinners. When we asked Grant about it, he'd say the vendor reps canceled last minute and he brought a colleague instead. Laura? He never specifically said Laura, but yeah, we all assumed. Did anyone report this? Report it to who? Grant approves his own expenses. Laura approves hers. There's no oversight unless someone explicitly files a complaint, and nobody wanted to do that. Why not? Because it's career-ending. You don't accuse executives of fraud unless you have absolute proof. And we didn't have proof. We had patterns. That's not the same thing. I nodded. She was right. Patterns weren't proof, but patterns plus testimony plus documentation could become proof. Can you get me copies of those expense reports? I asked. She looked alarmed. That's against policy. I could lose my job. I'm not asking you to do it today. I'm just asking if it's possible. Technically, yes. They're in the system, but accessing them without authorization is a terminable offense. What if you had authorization? From who? From someone in a position to request them legitimately. Like who? Let me work on that. In the meantime, just keep track of anything new you notice. Dates, locations, inconsistencies. You're really doing this, aren't you? You're really going after them. I'm gathering information, and what I do with it depends on what I find. You sound like a lawyer. I sound like someone who manages access logs and vendor contracts for a living. It's the same skill set. She smiled slightly. I guess it is. We finished our coffee. As we stood to leave, Jenna touched my arm. Daniel, be careful. Grant has a lot of influence. If he finds out you're asking questions, he'll make things difficult for you. Let him try. I'm serious. He's not someone you want as an enemy. He became my enemy the moment he started lying to me. I just didn't know it yet. She looked at me for a long moment. You're different than I expected. How so? At the gala, you seemed kind of defeated. Quiet, like you'd accepted your place in the background. But now? Now you seem focused. Almost dangerous. I'm not dangerous. I'm just tired of being invisible. Well, you're definitely not invisible anymore. She left. I stayed for a few more minutes, adding notes to my phone. Austin, Chicago, overlapping travel, expense irregularities, false client meetings. The evidence was mounting. Not enough yet. Not quite, but getting closer. My phone buzzed. Maya. I've got 2 people willing to talk to you, both from Laura's department. Both have seen things. Can you meet tomorrow? Lunch? Me, yes. Where? Maya. I'll send you the address. Come alone. They're nervous. Me. Understood. Thank you. Maya. Don't thank me yet. This might get complicated. Me. It's already complicated. Maya. Fair point. See you tomorrow. I drove home. Laura was in the living room, laptop open, glass of wine beside her. She looked up when I came in. Where were you? Coffee with a friend. What friend? Someone from your gala. We exchanged numbers. Her expression tightened. Who? Does it matter? It matters if you're... If I'm what? She closed her laptop. If you're trying to embarrass me. I'm not trying to embarrass you, Laura. I'm trying to have a life. By meeting with people from my office? By meeting with people who treated me like a human being, which is more than I can say for you lately. She flinched. That's not fair. Isn't it? Daniel, I know I messed up at the gala. I know I overreacted. But this, whatever you're doing, meeting with people, asking questions, it's making things worse. Worse for who? For both of us. I think things were already pretty bad, Laura. I'm just finally acknowledging it. She stood. What do you want from me? You want me to apologize? Fine. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I made a scene. I'm sorry I embarrassed you. I'm sorry for everything. Is that what you want to hear? I want to hear the truth. What truth? You know what truth. She stared at me. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. Daniel? How long have you been involved with Grant Holloway? The question hung in the air like smoke. She didn't move, didn't speak, just stared at me with an expression I couldn't read. That's what I thought, I said. I walked upstairs, went into the bedroom, and closed the door. I didn't lock it. I didn't need to. The lock was already there, invisible but solid, between us. I heard her crying downstairs. Soft, muffled, the sound of someone who knows they've been caught but hasn't figured out what to say yet. I didn't go comfort her. I opened my laptop and added one more note to my file. Friday. Meeting with Maya's contacts. Timeline confirmation, moving to documentation phase. Then I closed the computer and stared at the ceiling, listening to my wife cry in another room, feeling nothing at all. Friday morning arrived cold and gray. I woke up at 5, showered, dressed in the same charcoal suit I'd worn to the gala, and left the house before Laura was awake. The meeting with Maya's contacts wasn't until noon, but I wanted to see the building in daylight, wanted to understand the geography of the place where my wife spent most of her waking hours. I parked in the visitor lot and watched. People started arriving around 6:30. Grant Holloway arrived at 8:15 in his black sedan, walking like a man who owned the building. Laura arrived 10 minutes later, looking tired. She didn't see me. At 11:30, I drove to the address Maya had sent me, a small bistro on the edge of downtown. Maya was already there with 2 women. I recognized Eleanor from table 11. The other was younger, maybe late 20s, with dark hair and serious glasses. I slid into the booth. Thanks for meeting me. Daniel, you remember Eleanor, Maya said. And this is Sophie. She works in compliance. Sophie looked nervous, glancing at the door like she expected someone to catch her. Relax, Maya said. Nobody knows we're here. We ordered sandwiches. When the waitress left, Eleanor spoke first. I've been with the company for 12 years, mostly in finance. About a year ago, I started noticing irregularities in Grant's expense submissions, duplicate charges, hotel stays billed twice. Over the past year, probably 15 to 20,000 in questionable charges. Did anyone else notice? A few people, but Grant's position gives him authority to override compliance holds. Nobody wanted to escalate it. I turned to Sophie. And you? She took a deep breath. I work in compliance. Part of my job is monitoring vendor relationships. About 6 months ago, I started noticing that several major vendor contracts were being renewed without competitive bidding. Hotels, conference centers, event planning, all companies Grant has personal relationships with. And Laura's involved? She approves the budgets that pay these vendors. Given how closely she works with Grant, it's hard to imagine she doesn't know. Why hasn't anyone reported this? To who? Sophie said. Grant essentially oversees his own compliance, and unless someone files a formal complaint with corporate headquarters, nothing gets reviewed. But you think there's proof? If someone requested a full audit of Grant's vendor relationships and expense reports over the past 2 years, they'd find enough to justify an investigation. Sophie pulled out her phone. I'm sending you a file, vendor relationships over the past 2 years, with notes on which ones bypassed normal approval processes. My phone buzzed. I opened the file. It was exactly what she'd described. Eleanor pulled out her phone too. I'm sending you something as well. expense reports over the past 18 months with my notes on irregularities. I received her file, opened it. It was damning. "Thank you both," I said. "This is more than I expected." "Don't thank us yet," Eleanor said. We ate in silence for a few minutes. Then Maya asked, "What's your next move?" "I'm going to talk to Grant directly." "That's risky." "Maybe, but I'm tired of operating in the shadows. I want him to know that I know." Sophie shook her head. "If you do this, if you really confront Grant, make sure you have a witness, someone who can protect you if things go sideways. I'll figure something out." We finished lunch. Maya paid. As we left, Sophie grabbed my arm. "Be careful. Grant's vindictive. Make sure you're ready for what that means." I am. I drove back to Laura's office building. Parked. Walked into the lobby like I belonged there. Nobody stopped me. The directory listed Grant's office on the 7th floor. I took the elevator up. His assistant sat at a desk outside his door. "Can I help you?" "I'm here to see Grant Holloway. My name is Daniel Rowe. I'm with Patterson Facilities Management. We handle building maintenance contracts." She checked her computer. "I don't see an appointment." "It's preliminary. I was in the building and thought I'd see if he had a few minutes." She hesitated, then picked up her phone. "Mr. Holloway, there's a Daniel Rowe here from Patterson Facilities." A pause. "Okay." She hung up. "He'll see you. Please keep it brief." I opened the door and walked in. Grant's office was expensive. Expensive desk, expensive art, expensive view. He stood behind his desk, looking at his phone. "Mr. Rowe," he said, extending his hand. "What can I do for you?" I shook his hand. "Actually, I'm not here about building maintenance." His expression shifted. "I'm sorry?" "I'm here about my wife, Laura Rowe. I believe you know her." He leaned back. "Daniel, I didn't realize that I was Laura's husband? I find that hard to believe. Let me be direct. I know about the affair, I know about the overlapping business trips, I know about the expense reports and the vendor contracts. So, let's not waste time pretending." He pressed a button on his phone. "Sarah, hold my calls." He released the button and looked at me. "What do you want?" "I want you to understand that I know, and I want you to understand that other people know too." "Is that a threat?" "It's a statement of fact. You've been careless, Grant. You thought nobody would notice. But you were wrong." His face went pale. "If you're suggesting I've done something inappropriate—" "I'm not suggesting. I'm telling you. You've been having an affair with my wife. You've been using company resources to cover it up. You've been approving questionable expenses and vendor contracts. And you've been doing all of this assuming nobody would hold you accountable." He stood. "I think we're done here." "We're not done. Sit down and listen. Because if you don't, this conversation ends and the next one happens with corporate headquarters." He hesitated, then sat. "Here's what's going to happen," I said. "You're going to end your relationship with Laura. You're going to request a transfer to a different region. You're going to submit yourself for a voluntary audit of your expense reports and vendor relationships. And you're going to do all of this quietly. And if I don't? Then I file a formal complaint with corporate headquarters, I provide documentation, I provide witness testimony, and I request a full investigation. Nobody will corroborate your story. Test me. See what happens." He stared at me. "You realize this is career-ending, for me and for Laura. I want accountability. You abused your authority, you lied, and you thought you'd get away with it." He leaned forward. "If you pursue this, I will make your life extremely difficult. I have resources. I have connections. Go ahead. Try. But understand, I don't work in your industry. I don't need your approval. All I need is documentation and witnesses, and I have both." He picked up his phone, read something, then set it down. "You want me to resign?" "I want you to face consequences. And if I do what you're asking?" "Then this stays between us. No formal complaint, no investigation." He stood and walked to the window. "You think you've won, but all you've done is make yourself a target. Get out of my office. Will you do what I asked? You'll have your answer by Monday. Now leave." I stood. "Monday morning, I'll be waiting." I paused at the door. "One more thing. If anything happens to me, there are people who know everything, so don't do anything stupid." I left his office and walked out of the building. My hands were shaking, not from fear, from adrenaline. I got in my car and texted Maya. "Me. It's done, Maya." "How'd it go?" "Me. He's scared." "Don't know if he'll comply, but he's definitely scared." Maya. "Be careful. You just backed a dangerous man into a corner. Me. Corners work both ways. I drove home. Laura's car wasn't there. I changed clothes, made coffee, and sat at the kitchen table documenting everything that had happened in Grant's office. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Unknown. This is Grant. Meet me tonight. 8 p.m. Harbor parking lot near Pier 7. Come alone. I stared at the message. This could be dangerous. But I was going. Me? I'll be there. Grant. Come alone. Tell no one. Me? Understood. I spent the next hour backing up files, sending encrypted copies to Maya. Then I ate, showered, dressed in dark clothes. At 7:30, I left. Pier 7 was industrial, mostly empty. I parked and waited. At exactly 8, Grant's black sedan pulled in. He parked 20 feet away. We sat like that for a minute. Then Grant got out and walked toward my car, rain soaking his expensive suit. I rolled down my window halfway. I'll do it, he said. Do what? What you asked. End things with Laura. Request a transfer, submit to an audit. Why? Because you're right. I was careless, and I don't want this going public. You could fight me. Fighting means exposure. Cooperation is my only option. Good. But I want something. A guarantee this stays quiet. Agreed, as long as you follow through. He leaned closer. If you ever come at me again, if you ever try to extort me, I will bury you. Do you understand? I understand. And do you understand that if anything happens to me, everything becomes public? I understand. Then we have an agreement. He nodded once, walked back to his car, and drove away. I sat there for 10 minutes, then drove home. Laura's car was in the driveway. She was sitting in the living room, mascara streaked. Where were you? She asked. Out. Doing what? Fixing things. Grant's transferring. He's ending it. It's over. Her face went white. What did you do? Oh, what you should have done months ago. I made a choice. Daniel, we'll talk tomorrow. Right now, I need sleep. I walked upstairs and closed the door. For the first time in months, I slept soundly. Saturday morning, I woke early. Made coffee. Laura was still asleep or pretending to be. My phone buzzed. Grant. Transfer request submitted. Effective end of next month. Chicago office. Me. And the audit? Grant. Requested voluntary review. Should be completed within 3 weeks. Me. Good. Grant. We're done. Don't contact me again. Laura came downstairs around 9, looking terrible. We need to talk. Okay? Not here. Let's go somewhere. 20 minutes later, we were walking along the lake. For 5 minutes, neither of us spoke. Finally, Laura said, What did you do? I had a conversation with Grant. Told him I knew. Gave him options. He chose the smart one. She stopped walking. You threatened him? I gave him options. He chose. You've destroyed his career. No, he destroyed his career when he decided to abuse his position. I just made sure there were consequences. She started crying. Full, gasping sobs. I stood there feeling nothing. He's leaving, she said. Transferring to Chicago. I know. How could you do this to me? To you? Laura, you did this to yourself. I loved him. The words hit harder than expected. Past tense. Already over. Did you? I asked. Or did you love the idea of him? You don't understand. You're right. I don't understand how someone throws away 8 years for a man who just proved he values his career more than you. That's not fair. Life's not fair. You taught me that. So what now? Now? I file for separation. We split assets. We move on. Just like that? Just like that. What about counseling? What about trying to fix this? Fix what? There's nothing left to fix. You made your choice for 18 months. The fact that he's leaving doesn't change that. She grabbed my arm. Please, we can fix this. Why would I want to start over with someone who showed me exactly who they are? Because I'm still your wife. Because we made vows. They did mean something. Past tense. We walked in silence, then got back in the car. She cried the whole way home. When we got home, she went upstairs. I heard the bedroom door close. I sat in the living room with my laptop, researching separation procedures. Around 2, my phone rang. Unknown number. Daniel Rowe? Yes. This is Robert Vance. I'm an attorney representing Grant Holloway. He'd like to formalize your arrangement with a non-disclosure agreement. Meaning what? You agree not to discuss his relationship with your wife or any business practices. In return, he fulfills his commitments. And if I don't sign, he'll withdraw his transfer request and contest any allegations. I want some additions. A written confirmation of the transfer, a copy of audit results. Confirmation Laura won't face professional retaliation. Those seem reasonable. Anything else? Yes. If Grant violates any terms, the non-disclosure becomes void. Understood. I'll draft something and send it Monday morning. Make sure your client understands I'm serious. I'll convey that. He hung up. Laura came downstairs. Was that a lawyer? Grant's lawyer. He wants me to sign an NDA. Are you going to? Probably. It protects both of us. My reputation is already destroyed. No, your relationship is destroyed. Your reputation is bruised. There's a difference. She sat down. I can't believe this is happening. Believe it. This is the consequence of your choices. Do you hate me? No. Do you love me? I thought about that. I love the person you used to be, but that person's been gone for a long time. She could come back. We could fix this. Laura, you're asking me to forgive 18 months of lies. You're asking me to trust you when you've shown me exactly how trustworthy you are. She didn't have an answer. We sat in silence. Finally, Laura spoke. What do you want from me? I want you to stop pretending you're the victim. I want you to acknowledge you made choices, and I want you to let me go without making me feel guilty. Can't we just... No, we're done. The only thing left is deciding how we end this, cleanly or messily. She started crying again. I felt relief. Relief that I'd finally said it. I'm going to stay at a hotel for a few days. When I come back, we'll start the practical work of separating. Where will you go? Does it matter? I just want to know you're safe. I'll be fine. I went upstairs, packed a bag, came back down. Laura was still on the couch, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. Laura, for what it's worth, I'm sorry it ended like this. I wish you'd been honest. I'm sorry too, she whispered. I walked out, got in my car, and drove away. I checked into a hotel, sat in the generic room, and continued my separation research. My phone buzzed. Maya. Maya. How are you? Me. Okay, it's done. Grant's transferring. Laura and I are separating. Maya. That was fast. Me. I've been ready for a while. Maya. Take care of yourself. This takes a toll even when you're prepared. Me. I will. Thank you for everything. I set the phone down and lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling. I'd done it. Confronted Grant, set consequences in motion, told Laura it was over, taken control of my story. So why didn't I feel better? Maybe because revenge doesn't actually heal anything. It just proves a point, but it doesn't fix the hole inside you. My phone buzzed. Laura, I'm sorry for everything. You deserved better. I hope someday you can forgive me. I read it 3 times, then typed, Me. I hope someday I can too, but right now, all I can do is move forward. Take care of yourself. I sent it and turned off my phone. Tomorrow, I would sign the NDA. The transfer would become official. Laura and I would begin formal separation. Everything would continue as I'd planned. But tonight, I just needed to sleep. Sunday morning brought clarity. I woke at dawn, feeling more rested than I had in weeks. Not because the bed was comfortable, but because I wasn't lying next to someone I couldn't trust. I showered, dressed, went to the hotel restaurant. The coffee was mediocre but hot. I watched the city wake up. My phone buzzed, email from Robert Vance. The subject, NDA and settlement agreement. I opened it. 30 pages of legal language, but the core points were clear. 1. I wouldn't discuss Grant's relationship with Laura or business practices. 2. Grant would transfer to Chicago in 30 days. 3. Grant would submit to a voluntary audit. 4. Grant wouldn't retaliate against Laura. 5. If either party violated the agreement, the non-disclosure would become void. I called the number at the bottom. Robert Vance answered. Mr. Rowe, questions? Several. Section 4, regarding retaliation. I want specific language stating Laura won't face termination, demotion, or negative reviews. I can add that. Second, the audit. I want a summary of findings, not just confirmation it occurred. That's difficult. Audit results are typically confidential. Then make an exception. If Grant wants my silence, he needs to prove he's addressing the problems. Vance was quiet. I'll discuss with my client. Third, I want a clause stating that if Grant contacts Laura for any reason other than necessary business, the agreement is void. That's specific. That's the point. This ends completely. No lingering contact. Understood. How soon can you sign? Tomorrow, after my attorney reviews it. You're bringing in an attorney? Of course, I'm not signing 30 pages without professional review. That's wise. I'll send the revised document tomorrow. He hung up. I immediately searched for family law attorneys, found 3 with good reviews, sent inquiry emails. My phone rang. Maya. Hey, how's the hotel? Fine, quiet, anonymous. Listen, something happened Friday. Grant called an emergency meeting, told his direct reports he was transferring to Chicago, said it was his decision, but people aren't buying it. Why not? Too sudden. He's been here 6 years. Everyone knows he was being groomed for VP, and Laura was noticeably absent. She's been home, processing. Processing what? We're separating. I told her yesterday. I'm sorry, Daniel. Don't be. It was always going to end this way. Maya was quiet. You sound different, more focused. I am, finally. Just be careful. Grant's leaving, but he still has connections. Let him try. I'm prepared. We hung up. I decided to take a walk. No destination, just movement. I wandered through Sunday morning streets. The city was quiet, peaceful. I felt invisible in a good way. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Daniel Rowe? Yes. This is Evelyn Park, HR coordinator at Sterling and Holloway. I'm calling to facilitate a meeting between you and Laura regarding separation of assets. Would you be available tomorrow at 2 p.m.? That's thoughtful. Yes, I'll be there. Excellent. And Mr. Rowe? Several of us have noticed what's been happening. You've conducted yourself with remarkable restraint. Thank you. She hung up. I stood there processing. HR knew. Someone was acknowledging it. I continued walking. My phone buzzed. Text from unknown number. Unknown. You think you've won? You haven't. This isn't over. I stopped. Read it again. Grant. Me. This violates the agreement we're finalizing. Back off. Unknown. The agreement isn't signed yet. You made me look weak. You embarrassed me. That has consequences. Me. Are you threatening me? Unknown. Actions have consequences. You taught me that. Now I'm teaching you, me. I have records of everything. Witnesses. If anything happens to me, it all becomes public. Unknown. Nothing's going to happen to you. But your life is about to get very uncomfortable. I called Robert Vance immediately. Your client just sent me threatening messages. I read them out loud. Vance was quiet. That's unfortunate. I'll speak with him. The spirit? He's threatening me. You tell your client he has 24 hours to sign the agreement. If he doesn't, I go nuclear. Everything goes public. Do you understand? I'll convey your message. I hung up. My hands were shaking. Not from fear, from anger. Grant wasn't going to go quietly. I walked back to the hotel, changed into workout clothes, ran on the treadmill until I couldn't think about anything except breathing. When I was done, I opened my laptop. I'd been playing defense. But Grant's messages changed that. I opened a new document and started writing. A comprehensive report detailing everything I knew about Grant's business practices and personal conduct, expense reports, vendor contracts, witness testimony, timeline of the affair, everything. I worked for 3 hours. When I was done, I had a 40-page document that read like a prosecutor's case file. I saved it in 3 locations. Then I wrote a cover letter to the CEO of Sterling and Holloway's parent company. Dear Mr. Patterson, I am writing to bring to your attention serious concerns regarding Grant Holloway's conduct. The attached document details systematic abuse of expense privileges, vendor favoritism, and inappropriate relationships. I am not seeking compensation or publicity. I am simply requesting independent investigation. Respectfully, Daniel Rowe, I saved the letter but didn't send it. Not yet. It was insurance. A nuclear option. My phone buzzed. Robert Vance. Mr. Rowe, I spoke with my client. He apologizes. He was emotional. He's committed to signing tomorrow. And if he contacts me again? He won't. I've made it clear that would void everything. Good. Send me the final document tomorrow. Thank you for your patience. I'm not patient. I'm strategic. I hung up. Sunday passed quietly. Room service for dinner. Television without watching. Around 11, Laura texted. Laura, Evelyn told me about tomorrow's meeting. I'll be there. I just want to get through this peacefully. Me. That's all I want, too. Laura, I've been thinking about what you said, about choices and consequences. You're right. I made bad choices. I don't expect forgiveness, but I want you to know I understand. Me. Thank you for saying that. Laura. For what it's worth, I did love you. I do love you. I just love myself more. That's not your fault. That's mine. I stared at that message. Most honest thing she'd said in months. Me? I appreciate that. It doesn't change anything, but I appreciate it. Laura. I know. See you tomorrow. I set the phone down and lay in the dark, thinking about love and selfishness and all the ways people hurt each other. Laura had loved me, but she'd loved having options more. And when those things conflicted, she'd chosen everything else. That wasn't evil, just human. Selfish, but human. Tomorrow, I'd sign the NDA. I'd meet with Laura and start separation, I'd move forward, and Grant would transfer to Chicago. Everything was proceeding according to plan. So why did I still feel like something was unfinished? Like there was one more thing that needed to happen? I didn't have an answer. Not yet, but I suspected I would soon. Monday morning arrived with sharp winter sunlight cutting through the hotel room blinds. I woke at 6, showered, and put on the navy suit. Today was about endings, about making things official. I checked my phone. 3 emails from attorneys. I scheduled consultations, then opened the revised NDA from Robert Vance. He'd made all the changes I'd requested. The language was explicit, clear, enforceable. At 8:30, my phone rang. Patricia Morgan, one of the attorneys. Mr. Rowe, I've reviewed your inquiry about marital separation. Thank you for calling. Is this contested or uncontested? Uncontested. My wife and I have agreed to separate. We just need help with the practical aspects. Good. That simplifies things. Children? No. Shared property? A house? 2 cars? Standard accounts. Nothing complicated. How soon are you looking to finalize? As soon as possible. Weeks, not months. That's doable if both parties cooperate. Can you meet Wednesday at 2? Bring financial documents. Bank statements, mortgage paperwork, titles. I'll have everything ready. One more question. Is there any indication your spouse might make this difficult? I thought about Laura's text messages, the resignation in her voice. No, I think she's accepted it. Good. See you Wednesday. She hung up. I felt something settle in my chest. Relief. Forward movement after months of stagnation. I headed to Sterling and Holloway's offices for the 2 o'clock meeting with Laura and Evelyn from HR. The receptionist directed me to a conference room on the 3rd floor. Evelyn was already there, setting up a laptop. Daniel, thank you for coming. Thank you for organizing this. Laura should be here shortly. I'm here as a neutral facilitator. My role is to keep things professional, take notes on agreements, and provide resources. I'm not here to take sides. Does that work? That works perfectly. What's discussed here stays confidential. The company supports employees through difficult transitions. I appreciate that. The door opened. Laura walked in looking pale and exhausted. Simple black dress, minimal makeup, hair pulled back tight, professional armor. She sat across from me without making eye contact. Hello, Daniel. Laura. Evelyn cleared her throat. Okay, let's begin. You're both in agreement that separation is the right path forward? We both nodded. Good. Today we'll create a preliminary outline of asset division. We're not making final decisions today, just establishing a framework for your attorneys. Does that make sense? Yes, I said. Yes, Laura echoed quietly. Evelyn opened her laptop. Let's start with your primary residence, own or rent. Own, I said. Joint mortgage, 5 years, worth roughly $420,000. We owe about $280,000. So approximately $140,000 in equity. Have you discussed how to handle this? Laura spoke. I'd like to keep the house. I looked at her. Why? Because it's home. Because I don't want to move. Because starting over somewhere new feels impossible. You'd need to refinance in your name only. Buy out my half of the equity. Yes. I've talked to the bank. They said I could qualify based on my income. I thought about it. Letting Laura keep the house meant a clean break, no shared mortgage, no reason to stay in contact. Okay, I said. You can have the house, but I want my $70,000 within 90 days of the agreement being finalized. I can do that. Evelyn typed notes. Good. Vehicles? We have 2 cars, I said. A 2019 sedan in Laura's name and a 2020 SUV in mine. Both paid off. We each keep our own. Laura? Yes. Excellent. Bank accounts and investments? I pulled out my phone. Joint checking with about $12,000. Joint savings with $38,000. My 401k has roughly 115,000. Laura's has about 90. Standard division would be 50-50 on joint accounts, and each person keeps their own retirement. Objections? Laura shook her head. No, that's fair. I agree, I said. We continued for another hour. Shared subscriptions, insurance policies, tax implications. By 3:30, we'd covered everything. Evelyn closed her laptop. This is excellent progress. I'll send you both a summary by end of day tomorrow. Share it with your attorneys. Any final questions? No, I said. Laura stood abruptly. Actually, yes. I have a question. For Daniel. Evelyn looked between us. If this is personal, perhaps... It's fine, I said. What do you want to know? Laura's eyes were red, brimming with tears. Why? If you knew about Grant for months, why didn't you say something sooner? Because I needed to be sure, and because I needed to understand how far you'd go. That's cruel. Maybe, but it's honest. You spent 18 months lying to me. I spent 6 months watching. We both made choices. But I was the only one who got punished. Were you? You had 18 months of whatever you got from Grant. I had 6 months of certainty about who you really are. We both got something. That's a terrible way to think about a marriage. It's the only way to think about this marriage. It stopped being about love a long time ago. It became about transactions and maintaining appearances. And I'm done with that. Laura's tears spilled over. I loved you. I still love you. I know. But love without integrity is just words. And I need more than words. She turned and walked out, heels clicking rapidly. I heard a door slam. Evelyn looked at me carefully. That was harsh. It was true. Those aren't mutually exclusive, but sometimes truth can wait for kindness. I've been kind for 8 years. I'm tired of being kind. She nodded slowly. I understand. But for what it's worth, being right doesn't always mean you have to prove it. Maybe not. But sometimes you do. Because if you don't, people never learn. They never understand the weight of what they did. Evelyn closed her laptop case. You might be right, but make sure you're doing this for the right reasons. Make sure you're not just hurting her because you're hurt. I'm trying to make sure she understands consequences. There's a difference. Is there? Because from where I'm sitting, they look pretty similar. She left. I sat alone for a few minutes, thinking about her words. I left the building and drove back to the hotel. My phone buzzed. Maya. How'd the meeting go? Me. As well as could be expected. We divided assets. Laura cried. I didn't. Maya. How do you feel? Me. Empty. Not in a bad way. Just empty. Maya. That's normal. You've been running on adrenaline. Now you're crashing. Me. Maybe. Maya. Take tonight off. Don't think about any of this. Watch something mindless. Order room service. Let your brain rest. Me. I'll try. Maya. Don't try. Do. You've earned it. Back at the hotel, I did exactly that. Ordered a burger. Watched television without paying attention. Took a long shower. Went to bed early. But sleep didn't come easily. My mind kept cycling through the day, through Laura's tears, through Evelyn's words about cruelty and kindness. My phone buzzed around midnight. Unknown number. I answered. Hello? Daniel, it's Grant. I sat up. You're not supposed to contact me. I know, but we need to talk. In person. Tomorrow. Why? Because things have gotten complicated. People are asking questions. HR is investigating. If we're not careful, this becomes exactly what we were trying to avoid. That's your problem, not mine. It's our problem. If this goes public, we both lose. You lose leverage. I lose my reputation. Laura loses her job. Everyone gets hurt. So, what do you want? Meet me tomorrow, noon, that coffee shop where you met with Maya's people. We talk. We figure out how to manage this. Then we both walk away clean. I don't trust you. You don't have to trust me. You just have to recognize we have mutual interests. Neither of us wants a public scandal. I thought about it. He was right. If this became public, everything would become chaos. Okay, noon tomorrow. But if this is a setup, it's not. I just want this over, same as you. He hung up. I texted Maya. Meeting Grant tomorrow at noon, the bistro, just so someone knows. She responded immediately. Are you sure that's smart? Me. Probably not. But I'm doing it anyway. Maya. I'm coming with you. Don't argue. Me. I wasn't planning to. Maya. Good. See you at 11:30. I set the phone down and eventually fell into restless sleep. Tuesday morning, I met Maya at the bistro at 11:30. She was already there, sitting at a corner table with clear sightlines. You look terrible, she said. Didn't sleep well? Second thoughts? Third and fourth, but I'm still going through with it. We ordered coffee. At exactly noon, Grant walked in. He looked different. Less polished, more tired. He saw us and walked over. I said, come alone. I did, I said. Maya's here because she wants to be. He looked at Maya. This doesn't concern you. Everything about this company concerns me, she said calmly. I'm staying. Grant hesitated, then sat. Fine, but what we discuss stays between us. Depends on what you say, Maya replied. Fair enough. He turned to me. The audit started yesterday. That was fast. I expedited it. They're going through everything right now. And? They're finding exactly what you said they'd find. Duplicate expenses, vendor relationships that should have been disclosed, overlapping travel. It's not criminal, but it's problematic. You mean it makes you look bad? It makes me look careless. The VP position is off the table. My transfer to Chicago is being repositioned as voluntary career development. I'm being moved sideways. And you're upset about this? I'm accepting it. But the audit is raising questions about Laura, about her role in approving these expenses, about whether she was complicit. I felt my stomach tighten. She didn't know. Are you sure? The timeline suggests otherwise. She approved contracts with companies I had relationships with. Even if she didn't know explicitly, it looks like she should have known. What are you saying? She's being pulled into the audit too. If they find she was aware of the vendor relationships, it could cost her job. Maya spoke up. You're trying to make her a scapegoat. I'm telling you what's happening. The audit is expanding. Laura's name keeps coming up. Because you involved her, I said. You put her in this position. Maybe, but documentation shows her signature on questionable approvals. So what do you want from me? Grant pulled out his phone. I want you to provide a statement, something that clarifies Laura's role, makes clear she was acting on my instructions, that she had no reason to question the vendor relationships. You want me to protect her? I want you to tell the truth. She didn't know. If you provide that context, it helps the auditors understand she wasn't complicit. I stared at him. Why would you care? For the first time, Grant's expression cracked. He looked tired, almost human. Because despite everything, I don't want to destroy her. I made mistakes. I put her in an impossible position, but she doesn't deserve to lose her career. Maya looked at me. He's right. If Laura loses her job, she didn't do anything to warrant it except trust the wrong person. I thought about Laura crying in the conference room, about her genuine regret. I'll provide a statement, I said, but I want something in return. What? I want confirmation the audit findings remain confidential. I want assurance nothing about Laura's relationship with you becomes part of the official record. And I want your word you'll never contact her again. No emails, no calls. You disappear from her life completely. Done. Just like that? Just like that. I'm moving to Chicago. I'm starting over. I have no interest in maintaining contact. Why should I believe you? Because I'm tired, Daniel. I'm tired of lying. I'm tired of managing crises. I just want to go to Chicago, do my job, and rebuild some version of a life that doesn't require constant performance. I looked at Maya. She shrugged, leaving the decision to me. Okay, I said. I'll write the statement today. You'll get it by 5. But if you violate any part of our agreement, I know. Everything becomes public. He stood, extended his hand. I didn't take it. I'm not shaking your hand, Grant. You're a man dealing with consequences. I'm a man making sure those consequences stick. That's all this is. He lowered his hand. Fair enough. He walked out. Maya and I sat in silence. That was interesting, she said. Are you really going to protect Laura? I'm going to tell the truth. She didn't know about the vendor relationships. She was doing her job. If that protects her, fine. That's very mature of you. Don't sound so surprised. We finished our coffee. Maya headed to the office. I went back to the hotel and opened my laptop. Writing the statement took an hour. To whom it may concern. I am providing the statement to clarify Laura Rowe's role in expense approvals and vendor contract authorizations. As Ms. Rowe's spouse, I can confirm she was not aware of personal relationships between Grant Holloway and various vendors. Ms. Rowe's role was to approve expenses and contracts based on information provided by her supervisor. She acted in accordance with company policy and had no reason to question approvals she was asked to authorize. This statement is provided voluntarily to ensure audit findings accurately reflect individual knowledge and responsibility. Respectfully, Daniel Rowe. I emailed it to Robert Vance with instructions to forward it to compliance. 5 minutes later, Vance called. Mr. Rowe, I received your statement. This is very helpful. Good. Make sure it's used appropriately. I will. And I wanted to inform you the final NDA has been executed. Both parties have signed. The agreement is now binding. So it's official. It's official. Grant Holloway will complete his transfer as scheduled. The audit will conclude within 2 weeks. And Laura? Based on your statement and preliminary findings, Ms. Rowe will not face disciplinary action. Good. Is there anything else you need? No, we're done. He hung up. I sat feeling nothing. No triumph, no satisfaction, just exhaustion. My phone buzzed. Laura. Laura. I heard about the statement. Thank you. Me. I didn't do it for you. I did it because it was true. Laura. I know, but still. Thank you. Me. Watching you lose your job wouldn't have made me feel better. It would have just been more destruction. Laura. I'm sorry for everything. I'm truly sorry. Me. I know you are, but sorry doesn't change what happened. Laura. What happens now? Me. Now we finalize the separation, we divide assets, we sign papers, we move on. Laura. Can I ask you something? Me. Sure. Laura. Did you ever love me? Or was I just a project to manage? I stared at that question for a long time. Me. I loved you more than I've loved anyone. But loving someone doesn't mean accepting betrayal. I loved you enough to let you go. That's the only kind of love I have left. Laura. That's sad. Me. It's realistic. And right now, realistic is all I can manage. Laura. I understand. I'll see you when we sign the papers. Me. See you then. I set the phone down and closed my eyes. The rest of the afternoon I made arrangements. Called the attorney, called a realtor about apartments, called my bank about separating accounts, all the mundane logistics of untangling a shared life. By evening, I was exhausted. I ordered dinner, ate without tasting it, went to bed early. Tomorrow I'd meet with the attorney. Next week, Laura and I would sign the separation agreement. In 30 days, Grant would be gone. In 60 days, I'd move into a new apartment. Everything was proceeding forward. Wednesday afternoon, I sat in Patricia Morgan's office reviewing the separation agreement. It was comprehensive, clear, exactly what I'd outlined. This is excellent work, I said. How soon can we finalize? If Laura's attorney agrees without modifications, we could have both parties signed by end of next week. Then there's a mandatory 60-day waiting period, but the practical aspects can happen immediately after signing. And if she contests anything, then we negotiate. But based on what you've told me, she's accepting. Good. Let's proceed. Patricia made copies, explained the timeline. I left feeling another piece click into place. My phone buzzed. Maya. Maya. Office is buzzing. Grant announced his departure date. 3 weeks from Friday. Me. Will you go to the farewell reception? Maya. Probably. It would look weird if I didn't. Will you? Me. No, I have no reason to be there. Maya. Probably for the best. How are you holding up? Me. I'm functional. That's about all I can claim. Maya. That's more than most people manage. Be proud of functional. Maya. Dinner this weekend? Saturday? Me. I'd like that. Maya. Perfect. I'll text you details. I drove back to the hotel and checked email. One from Patricia confirming our meeting, one from a realtor with apartment listings, and one from Evelyn Park with the subject line, "Thank you." Daniel, I wanted to reach out personally to thank you for the statement regarding Laura. Your clarification helped prevent an unjust outcome. I've worked in HR for 15 years. I've seen a lot of situations like yours, and I've seen people handle them in all kinds of ways. Some people get vindictive. Some get paralyzed. Some pretend nothing's wrong. You did something different. You took control. You gathered information. You held people accountable without destroying them. And even when you had every right to be cruel, you chose to be fair. That's rare, and worth acknowledging. I hope you find happiness. You deserve it. Evelyn, I read it 3 times. Something about it hit harder than expected. I typed a response. Evelyn, thank you. Your words mean more than you know. I tried to do what seemed right, even when it would have been easier to do what felt good. I appreciate you taking the time to reach out. Best regards, Daniel. The rest of the week passed in logistics. Thursday, I signed the final NDA. Friday, Laura's attorney confirmed acceptance of the separation terms. Saturday, I had dinner with Maya where we deliberately avoided mention of failed relationships. Sunday, I found an apartment. Small one-bedroom, 10 minutes from my office. I signed the lease and scheduled movers. Monday, I received an email from Laura. Daniel, we're scheduled to sign the separation agreement on Thursday at 2 p.m. I've been thinking about everything, about the choices I made, about the person I became. You were right, about all of it. I did choose myself over you. I did lie and justify and rationalize, and I was wrong. I can't undo what I did, but I can acknowledge that you deserved better. You deserved honesty. You deserved someone who chose you first. I hope someday you find that person. I'm sorry I wasn't that person. Laura. I read it twice, then closed the email without responding. There was nothing left to say. Thursday at 2 o'clock, I arrived at Patricia's office. Laura was already there, looking small and tired in a gray sweater and jeans. Patricia greeted us, led us to a conference room, laid out 2 copies of the separation agreement, 18 pages translating 8 years of marriage into property division and financial obligations. If you'll both review the documents one final time, we can proceed with signatures, Patricia said. I read through it. Everything was as agreed, clean, fair, final. Laura did the same, then she looked at me. This is really happening. Yes. I thought you might change your mind. Laura, we had 18 months of chances. You chose not to take them. I know. I just thought maybe love would be enough. Love was never the problem. Trust was. And you can't rebuild trust when the foundation is gone. She nodded slowly, tears starting. You're right. I wish you weren't. So do I. We both signed. Our attorneys witnessed. Patricia made copies. 8 years of marriage became a legal document awaiting a 60-day waiting period. As we stood to leave, Laura turned to me. Can I ask you something? Sure. Did you ever consider forgiving me? Really forgiving me? I thought about that. Yes, for about 5 minutes after the gala. But then I realized forgiveness without change is just enabling. And you weren't going to change until you faced consequences. So I chose consequences? And now? Now we both get to find out who we are without each other. Maybe that's the best thing that could have happened. Maybe. She left. Patricia handed me my copy. You did well. This was as clean as these things get. Doesn't feel clean. That's because it is messy and sad, but at least it's resolved. I left and sat in my car for a long time, holding the separation agreement. My phone buzzed. Maya. How'd it go? Me. It's done. Signed. 60 days until it's official. Maya. How do you feel? Me. Like I should feel relieved, but mostly just feel empty. Maya. That's normal. You've been running on purpose for weeks. Now that the purpose is fulfilled, you don't know what to feel. Me. When does that get better? Maya. When you find a new purpose. When you start building instead of dismantling. Me. Any suggestions? Maya. Yeah. Decorate your apartment. Join a gym. Cook something complicated. Do things about creating instead of destroying. Me. That's good advice. Maya. Seriously, though. You did the hard part. You set boundaries. You held people accountable. Now comes the harder part, figuring out who you are when you're not fighting anymore. I drove to my new apartment, walked through the empty rooms, imagined what my life would look like in this space. It felt possible, not easy, but possible. Friday, I went to the office for the first time in 2 weeks. My coworkers welcomed me back with careful politeness. I didn't explain, I just worked. At lunch, I got a text from Grant. Grant, I'm leaving tomorrow. Final day. I wanted to thank you for the statement about Laura. You didn't have to do that. Me. I did it because it was accurate, not because I forgive you. Grant. I understand. I don't forgive myself either. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. For what that's worth. Me. It's worth acknowledging, but it doesn't change anything. Grant. Good luck with everything. I deleted the message thread. Saturday, I moved into my new apartment with help from Maya and 2 guys from my office. We assembled furniture, hung pictures, organized the kitchen. By evening, it looked like a place someone could live. Maya ordered pizza. We sat on my new couch, eating from the box. This is nice, she said. What is? This. You, being functional again. You were getting scary there for a while. Scary how? Scary focused, like a machine. I'm glad to see you acting human again. I always was human. I was just prioritizing differently. That's diplomatic for saying you were obsessed with revenge. Maybe, but it worked. Did it? What did you actually get? I thought about that. Closure, accountability, proof that actions have consequences. And was it worth it? I don't know yet. Ask me in 6 months. I will. Maya left around 10. I stood in my new apartment looking at the furniture, the pictures, the life I was beginning to build. It wasn't the life I'd planned, but it was mine. And for the first time in months, that felt like enough. Sunday morning, I woke up in my own bed, in my own apartment. I made coffee in my own kitchen. And I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. The rage that had fueled me for weeks had dissolved. Not because I'd forgiven anyone, but because I'd done what I'd set out to do. I'd held people accountable, I'd protected myself, I'd drawn lines and enforced them, and now I was just tired, ready to rest, ready to stop fighting and start living. My phone buzzed. Laura. Laura, I heard you moved into your new place. I hope it's everything you want it to be. I hope you find happiness there. I looked at the message for a long time. Then I typed, Me. I hope you find happiness too. I hope you learn from this. Goodbye, Laura. I hit send, then blocked her number. Not out of anger, but because I didn't need that door to stay open. I needed it closed, locked, finished. I spent Sunday organizing, unpacking, making the space mine, and as I worked, I felt something shift inside me, something that had been clenched tight finally relaxed. I was going to be okay, not today, not tomorrow, but eventually, and that was enough. The following weeks, life continued. I joined a gym, started looking at classes, had coffee with a woman from my building. Life continued, not the life I'd planned, but a life nonetheless. And somewhere in Chicago, Grant was starting over. And somewhere in our old house, Laura was learning to live with consequences. And somewhere in Sterling and Holloway's offices, people were gossiping and eventually moving on. But I wasn't part of that anymore. I was part of something new, something smaller and quieter and entirely my own. 2 months after the gala, I ran into Natalie at a bookstore. We had coffee. How are you doing? She asked. I'm okay, actually okay, not just saying it. Good, you deserve that. So do you. You're different than you were at the gala. How so? At the gala, you seemed lost, but now you seem settled, like you figured it out. I don't know if I figured it out, but I stopped pretending I was someone I wasn't. That's everything. 3 months after the gala, the separation became final. Laura transferred my equity payment. We officially owned nothing together anymore. I felt nothing, just acknowledgement that something had ended and something else had begun. 4 months after the gala, I stopped thinking about revenge, stopped checking on Grant, stopped wondering if Laura had learned anything, stopped measuring my life by what I'd lost. I started dating, nothing serious, just learning how to trust again. I reconnected with old friends, I traveled, I took cooking classes, I read books that had nothing to do with strategy or revenge. I lived. And slowly, the hollow feeling began to fill with something else. Not happiness exactly, but contentment, peace, the sense that I'd survived something difficult and come out stronger. 6 months after the gala, Maya asked me if it had been worth it. We were having dinner at the Italian place that had become our regular spot. Was what worth it? I asked. All of it. The confrontation, the calculated takedown. Was it worth what it cost you? I thought about that question. Really thought about it. I don't know, I said finally. I got what I wanted. Grant faced consequences. Laura lost her safety net. But I also lost 8 years. I lost my faith in people. I spent months becoming someone I'm not sure I like. But you're not that person anymore. No, so maybe that's the answer. It was worth it because it forced me to become someone new, someone who doesn't accept betrayal, someone who knows his worth. That's very zen. That's very exhausting. But it's true. She raised her glass. To new beginnings. I raised mine. To surviving old endings. We drank. And in that moment, I realized something important. I hadn't won. Not really. Grant was fine. Laura was fine. Nobody had been destroyed. But I was fine too. And that was the real victory. Not destroying them, but surviving them. Not revenge, but recovery. I'd spent months trying to make people hurt the way they'd hurt me, and I'd learned that's not how healing works. Healing doesn't come from proving you can hurt people back. It comes from proving you can survive being hurt and still choose to build something good. I left the restaurant feeling lighter than I had in months. I walked through the city streets, and I didn't feel separate anymore. I felt part of it, part of the flow of human experience. I went home, made tea, sat on my couch, looked around at the life I'd built from the wreckage of the life I'd lost, and I smiled, not because I'd won, but because I'd survived. And that was enough.